guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Auntie Tay. If you guys are new here, that's who I am. And if you're not, welcome back. And if you're not, you probably know that I do Walt Disney Wednesdays. I started out making Mickey ears on the internet, and 5 years ago is when I started making Mickey ears on the internet. And since then, it has taken off. People have started their own Instagrams with the tutorial and they make their own. And I can just say, I am so excited when I see somebody super creative take the tutorial that I put on the internet and make something amazing out of it. So kudos to all of those people. I am so obsessed with following you guys and watching what you guys do. I think it's amazing and stunning and absolutely awesome. Okay, so today I am debuting the new Mickey ear set that's coming this summer. You're going to be infiltrated with Mickey ear videos because I launched the Mickey Ear Factory on auntietay.com, which is this really cool page where you've got tons of SVGs that work amazing with your cutting machines and your Mickey ear making, so that you can just go crazy and literally have so many Mickey ears. And by the end of this year, I'm gonna have probably 1,000 Mickey ears. But I did fix one thing about my tutorial, and I made interchangeable bows, so I don't have to make so many ears, and I can literally have endless amounts of ears. I also revamped the bow, and I am coming out with the perfect bow tutorial for you guys. Did you see that? I switched them. So not only did I revamp this tutorial, which is how to make the Mickey ears, but I also revamped the bow and came out with the perfect bow, which is a tutorial in itself, and how to make them interchangeable. So that's another tutorial in itself. But I racked my brain, I went back and I watched the tutorial, and I remembered that I used to do things a little different, and I'm gonna share with you guys in this one my new favorite way to do all of these steps, my favorite products to use for each step, because that has changed. And then headbands are now no longer available at Joann's, so my new spot to get headbands and where I love the headbands. And one of the reasons why we started making Mickey ears is, one, we couldn't always just buy all the Mickey ears we wanted, but also the headbands on the Disneyland Mickey ears can really give you a headache. So it really helps to find good headbands. So we'll also show you guys that. So let's get going. Okay guys, I'm gonna show you a couple different ways to make your template, and this is the Fiskars hole punch that is 3.5 inch wide, and it works super good for making cardstock Mickey ear templates. Now this is for the template if you're going to use it to sew around your template, and there are other ways to make your template as well, but this is a super fast way if you are looking to make a lot. The next way would be to cut it out with an SVG on your Silhouette or your Cricut, and I love to cut just kind of in the center of a piece of paper, and then I get the sewing template like this, but I also get a negative space template for tracing if I want to do anything freehand, and I just keep those on hand. This is our 1/2 inch seam allowance template, and then the foam template is the smaller one. That's also your sewing line. So you're also gonna need 2 pieces of fabric per ear, and I'm gonna just make sure that the fabric is large enough to go outside of the foam template, or the small part of the pattern. So this pattern that you either cut out with your Fiskars, or you cut out with your SVG, or you used our printable. There's a few different ways you can do it. You can print it out on paper and trace it onto cardstock so that you have it like this as well. We're going to put our 2 right sides together of our fabric. If you're wanting to layer like a lace, you will layer those first like 1 piece of fabric and then put them right sides together. And then we're going to sew using this as a guide, and we're gonna sew all the way around and just a little bit on the bottom so that it kind of encloses the ear when we turn it right sides out. So I'm gonna backstitch along the bottom, leave my needle in, and slowly sew all the way around. I've done a bunch of different ways of doing this, and this is just a really fast and easy way to do it. You can also use our 1/2 inch seam allowance template and trace on the fabric, and then sew at a 1/2 inch seam allowance if that's what you would like to do. But I really love this technique. It's just super easy, and after a while you get really fast at it. But even going super slow, it only takes about 30 seconds per ear. So here's a close-up shot of what the stitch looks like after you're done. You should have this nice circle and then these little 1/2 to 1/4 inch back stitches at the bottom, which will make a nice sharp edge for when you are attaching them to your headband. So just to get another shot, just make sure when you're turning, you are leaving your needle in and you just go nice and slow. Now I'm just gonna cut around, making sure not to cut any of the stitching, but I will get nice and close so that when I turn this right sides out, the circle stays nice and circular. And then this is something I've also revamped. I add these little tabs at the bottom by kind of going into the notch that I sewed and going downward to leave this little flap, which you'll see comes in a lot of handy. It comes in real handy when it's time to actually close this. So now we're going to turn it right sides out, just by flipping it right sides out. And since I revamped where you sew to, you do need a little extra oomph when you're trying to get the little corners pushed out. So you can use just like the edge of your scissors to push those little points out, or you can use whatever you find, but just kind of use those to wedge those points out so they're nice and sharp. And that will also be where our foam nests when we go to put our foam in the next step. Okay, so now we need foam, and they will look like this when they're done, but I have mastered the foam technique. This is the foam I used to use, which is this nice thick foam that you can get at any craft store. But I found that when you cut this foam, it's kind of hard to get a really nice straight line because it is so thick. So this is my new favorite way to use foam. I buy these packs of the sticker foam, and we've used these before in some of our no-sew options, but I've mastered how to get the 2 ears out of 1 sheet. So I'm basically gonna pull the paper off the back and fold this in half. Used to not do this, and now I do this because it's the only way I've been able to find that I can get both ears fully done out of 1 sheet of foam. So now I'm going to take my negative space template and put it down in the corner and trace this with any type of pen. I'm using a fabric pen here, or a sewing fabric pen here, but you can use any type of pen and it doesn't really matter because it's not going to show when it goes inside. So now we're going to nest this on top of this ear a little bit to the side in the other corner of the foam, and it fits perfect. So you do need to make sure that this is sized exactly the size that it's supposed to be so that it fits. And now we're going to slowly cut these out, and you do want to make sure that this is perfect because one ear is part of the other ear. So just go nice and slow. It's actually really soothing to cut foam, and it's just the perfect width or thickness. It's not as thin as regular foam, but it's not as thick as the doubled foam. So I really, really love using this technique and these just sticker half sheet of foam. Okay, once we have them pulled out, this technique stayed the same, and we basically fold our foam into thirds, but the most important part here is to get it fully centered first. To push it all the way up into the ear and make sure that it's centered before you let it go will help you make it perfect. Otherwise, it's kind of annoying to try to have to figure out how to get your foam straightened out when it's off. So then you just kind of wedge those little corners out, and then once it pops open, you get a really nice circular ear, and then just nest those little corners right in that little spot that we sewed, and it's perfect. Okay, I also like to bend it just a little bit and kind of work it around before we fluff it. You want to make sure that circle is nice and perfect. You can pull the little tabs out if you want. Not necessary right this second, but you can. Okay, my favorite place to get fluff, and I know this is morbid, but I like to find old stuffed animals that don't have any sentimental value, and I like to find the fluff in them because you get a lot of fluff for your bang for your buck. Try a thrift store, find a big old stuffed animal that's kind of ugly, and just buy it and get all the fluff out. or just keep it in the stuffed animal and grab the stuffed animal as you need it. I know, weird, but it works. Okay, so we stuff our ear the same as we always have, just kind of halfway full. You don't want it super tight because it'll just get kind of bunchy. You just want a tiny bit. I like to do just a little handful, but not like a whole handful, just like a soft handful in each side. And then that is like the perfect amount. And I'm using flannel on this because flannel is like super forgiving. So felt and flannel are your friends when learning how to make Mickey ears or sewing because they're really easy to use. Okay, now our little tabs are going to come into full play. We are going to pull them both out and slowly tuck one over the foam and the fluff and make sure that it's all tucked in really nice. And then we're just gonna fold in that other one. What this does is gives us a really smooth place to close off our Mickey ear, and it feels like it's professional. And our corners are all done. You can cut off your little pieces of thread that are hanging out. And then we're just gonna pop some hot glue in there and close it off. And then it is good to go. All right, the next step is the headband, and one of the reasons I revamped this is because we used to buy our headbands at Joann's, and now Joann's doesn't sell the headbands that we want. So Amazon has this pack, and I've also put other packs in my Amazon store for you guys to find multiples of one color. I love this pack because it comes with so many colors. Link is in the description to anything I use in this video, as well as other Mickey ear videos, but a link to this is there as well. You get like 20 headbands for like 20 bucks, and it is so worth it. And then you get all the colors, so you can make every Mickey ear video that I come out with this summer. So there's that. Okay, I've kind of mastered where to put the ears, but I wanted to kind of show you guys where exactly to put them because I've seen some ear makers make them way too far or way too close together. And you can see how it looks just wonky when they're too far apart like this, but 2 1/4 inch is like perfect right between the ears. So if it takes learning where your hand rests when you hold the headband, is basically what I've learned, is from my thumbnail up about 3 inches is where I put my glue line, and that's just kind of my technique, but you can come up with your own measuring technique until you get it down. It's 2.5 inches apart. So I do not touch the glue. I put the glue on, I put the ear on, I let the ear sit. I don't go back and touch it until it's completely dry, because as soon as you touch the glue, it will not be crystal clear and you will see it. So that is the goal here, is making sure that your glue gets touched one time by the ear and you set it aside and you leave it. I use a extra hot glue gun, so for me it's a little bit longer for some people, but my hot glue gun takes a little bit longer. So if you're hot gluing your bow on, you would just hot glue it right to the center, but I have another tutorial on how I'm making all of my new bows interchangeable, as well as a tutorial on the perfect bow. So check that out if you are interested. Other than that, I would hot glue them to the ears and to the headband, but the interchangeable bow is a game changer, and I'm so excited for you guys to see it. So check that tutorial out. Bye guys, I love you.